So over on the N-Gage Discord, some of us worked together to purchase and acquire some N-Gage developer systems that came from Taurus Games. Now Taurus is the developer of Ashen, one of the best games on the system. And on these systems that we got two MMC cards from them as well, and it turned out that they contain something very interesting. Two builds of Ashen that were made after the game came out. So one was made on the 31st of August 2004 and the other one was on the 9th of September 2004. So that's after the game came out, and the version number of the published retail game is version 1.6, and then the version of these cards is version 2 with a bunch of zeros and a 1 at the end. So we were talking to someone else who used to work at Taurus Games, and he is suspecting that this is an extremely early build or builds of the sequel to Ashen, which was never fully developed. So cancelled sequel. This is most likely extremely early test builds of a sequel. So first, just as an example of what the retail game is supposed to look like on an actual system, here is what we've been looking at, the game running just on a system, but for the rest of the video we're going to be looking at these two new builds that we found on the emulator instead of actual hardware. So this is the first one of the cards that we looked at, and as you can see there, it's got the version 2 on it. And so for this I've put in the cheat code, which is 24328 to access this, to put it in God mode. It's just going to make it a bit easier for this demo. And in this version, the first level of the game does exist, and it is the first level as it was in the retail. And I'm just trying to get through this intro as quickly as possible. So one thing with this is, I'm not sure if it's these builds or if it's just an issue with the emulator, but for some reason the player physics are off and it makes the movement extremely slippery, so you keep over-judging where you're going to go because it's like walking around on ice. But yeah, basically this first level is very similar. Some of the objects on the ground are just placeholder items with those kind of arrow shapes instead of what they're supposed to look like in the actual game. And then there's some floating objects. I don't think they're supposed to be floating. And then there's some weird stuff like that which happens a few times, which says not implemented. And one thing you'll notice in the corner of the screen, there's a FPS counter, which is pretty cool. That's not in the retail version. And on actual hardware, that's nowhere near 60 frames a second, but thankfully the emulator runs a lot better. And another issue with these is, for some reason they don't have any audio at all. It's just completely silent. And so there's some more objects in this room where they're floating up high, and some of them aren't what they're supposed to be. Like the object is different. And then those 3 green arrow things, that's not supposed to look like that because that was supposed to be a flak jacket. And so the rest of the level is pretty much the same. I think we'll skip forward a bit. And so this is right at the end of the first part of the first level now, and for some reason it doesn't let you save. Just won't do anything. So if you go continue, it'll still continue. And then the rest of the level is as it usually would be. There's another bit here coming up where again it says not implemented, like that. And then we're just about at the end of the first level now. And that's the end. Did it. And then I'm not sure how these high scores are saved in here, but they are, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure if those two names are people from the development team or if that's just something that was already there, but it's interesting to see either way. Now this is the second level. Most of this is the same or nothing really significant that I've noticed that's different, so we're going to skip ahead. Now this is getting towards the end of the first part of the second level. And in this build, it seems to work and let you continue, but as we'll see later on, the other build, there seems to be a bug that doesn't let you continue. So yeah, it gets up to the checkpoint and you can keep going on to the rest of the level. So this is at the end of the second level now, and we've got a nice big boss enemy to defeat here. With those guns, it doesn't take too long to take down. And there we go, that's the end of that. So no high scores saved on that one for some reason. Now we're going to have a look at the other build of the game on the second MMC. So it's still that same version number, but this game, or this build, is actually different. It's got that same introduction for the story, but the first level is not the first level, it's this weird test area with these squares on the ground with numbers and these, whatever these objects are supposed to be, just floating above them. And then there's this portal on the end of the wall that takes you into almost identical rooms but with different objects and different numbers on the floor, and the things change size. So it's very interesting to see, but they don't actually seem to do anything. Skipping forward a bit here, you can see that you can just keep walking and it loops over and over again. So looking at the chapter 2 or second level of this build now, has some interesting things going on. So we'll skip forward to down here near the end of the level. There's an object over on the right here that's not supposed to look like that. And then there's an issue or a bug or whatever with this level in this build of the game where it won't let you finish it. You go to the lift here and it should finish, but it says objective incomplete and it won't let you continue. And now that is very strange because it doesn't do that in the other one. And if you look here at these screenshots that I got, the earlier build has two objectives that says follow trail and find survivors, but then in this later build it's only got one objective and the second one is missing, so I think that is why it's failing to trigger the end of the level just there, which is very interesting. In this part I've sped it up a lot just because I was trying to see what happens when you choose other levels. Some of them load and some of them crash. Sometimes if you try loading it again another time it'll work. But yeah, some stuff works and some stuff doesn't. And then in the last level here, once it gets past this dialogue, I noticed that in this build of the game, in the last level, the gun doesn't fire. Like, you can move around and stuff, but you can't shoot anything. So I kind of tried that a few times, reloading things, but it didn't work at all in that version of in that build of the game. So we'll swap over to the other one. So this is the earlier build of the game now, with God mode and infinite ammo on the last chapter. So this one, it does let you shoot, but there are more bugs where you can't press the reload button, and you can't press the ghost radar, ghost image, whatever it is, which we'll see in a little bit. So thankfully the gun mostly works. You can't seem to pick up other weapons either. You've just got the ones that the game has given you, because like we got the Gatling gun but nothing actually happened there. And so because this is the last level, there's a whole bunch of big enemies. So just skipping forward a little bit, there's some story stuff happening here in a second. I was having some issues with the controls and had to change some settings, but there's all that text. And then in this room, somewhere, yeah, there's this. I think I walked straight past it because this is the second time I played through this level, trying to work out what was going on. But there's this ghost trying to get you, and you're supposed to use the ghost view mode to look at it and shoot it. But yeah, there's a bug that it doesn't let you use that. And then you have to fight this huge enemy. And then you have to go through tunnels for a little while, so I skipped forward a bit again. And then you get into this area where there's more huge enemies to kill. And spend all the ammo on before you get to the final boss. There's this lift going up here. Because the physics in this emulator is off with everything being so slippery, the first time I tried to do this I kept slipping off the edge of this triangular platform. Even then it was kind of hard to stay on. And then surprise, you've got an even more giant enemy to kill in this room. I don't know how you would do this without God mode on. It's like really difficult. When I played through this game years ago on the N-Gage, I definitely had God mode on. I wouldn't have been able to beat it without that. And then once you get to the bottom of this very slow elevator, oh, that's another thing with this version of the game. If you swap through the weapons, the sprites change size for some reason. So yeah, there we go. There's the final boss. And then around this room, there are some pickups for more ammo and things. But you can't actually pick them up. And then there's these 4 tentacles that you have to shoot, and you can shoot them and destroy them, but I wasn't able to kill all 4 of them with the amount of ammo I had left available to me. and it's kind of hard to tell if it's actually hitting it or not. So I think at this point that gun had run out of ammo, and I was trying to find what other guns worked. That one there, that's got the really gigantic sprite for some reason, but it doesn't actually seem to do anything. And like, that's got 20 more reloads that technically I should be able to use, but because the reload button doesn't let you reload, I couldn't do anything about it. And then this gun here was really powerful, but then it ran out of ammo. That one thankfully was reloading automatically, but still not enough ammo to actually defeat it. And then the shotgun, that was also over very quickly. I couldn't get that last tentacle defeated, and then if you take too long, they grow back again. And that little blaster doesn't seem to affect it, because that one you don't have to reload, it just recharges after a few seconds. And then I think this was when I had completely run out of ammo for everything that could deal damage. So I hope you've found this as interesting as I have watching this as I did playing it. It's really, really cool to have never before seen builds of a game like this where things are changed, things work, things don't work, weird stuff is going on. So this is going to be publicly available very soon for you to try yourself in the emulator or on real hardware. So yeah, this is just all the interesting stuff that I found with a few hours of messing around. I'm sure there's going to be other stuff people will find as well. But yeah, it's just so cool that we actually managed to find these cards with these builds on them that is like got all this crazy stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching. That will be all for now, and yeah, if you liked it, subscribe.